Welcome to Friends and Fiction. 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories. Novelists Mary Kay Andrews, Kristen Harmel, Christy Woodson Harvey, and Patty Callahan Henry are 4 longtime friends with more than 70 published books between them. Together, they host Friends and Fiction, with author interviews and fascinating insider talk about publishing and writing, to highlight and support independent bookstores. They discuss the books they've written, the books they're reading now, and the art of storytelling. If you love books and you're curious about the writing world, you're in the right place. Hi, everybody. It is Wednesday night, and that means we are right here with you for Friends and Fiction. We have an amazing evening ahead of us, so let's get started. I'm Kristen Harmel.
I'm Christy Woodson Harvey.
And I'm Patty Callahan Henry.
And this is Friends and Fiction, 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories to support indie bookstores, authors, and librarians. Unfortunately, our 4th, Mary Kay Andrews, is not with us tonight because despite being vaxxed and boosted, she has a mild case of COVID. She'll be okay, but just a reminder to stay safe out there. It seems to be spreading like wildfire again. I know you'll all join us in wishing Mary Kay a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. And she may even be tuning in tonight because we have a jam-packed episode, and I know she hated to miss it. So over the next hour, we're going to be talking with 3 phenomenal writing teams, all of whom have had such different backgrounds and are at very different places in their careers. First up, we'll have Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Then we'll be chatting with Alison Hammer and Bradiegh Godfrey, who write together as Allie Brady. And then finally, we'll welcome back someone you might be familiar with, Mary Alice Monroe and her writing partner, Angela May.
But first, even though Mary Kay isn't with us, she's always with us. But even though she's not on the screen, we want to raise a glass to her because, y'all, she just hit her 5th week on the New York Times bestseller list with The Homewreckers. Yay! This is such a huge deal, and it means that you all have kept supporting her. So on her behalf, huge thanks to all of you. And speaking of The Homewreckers, just a quick reminder to join us over on the really cool new social platform, Fable, which is a book club app for social reading where we have our very own Friends and Fiction Behind the Book club. And this month, we're reading The Homewreckers together. And if you join, it means you have all these exclusive access things like behind-the-scenes stories, playlists, secrets, and so much more, plus discussion prompts and interaction with Mary Kay herself. You can share your reactions, thoughts, and favorite quotes with us and fellow readers as you read. And you can gain access to special resources you will not find anywhere else, even right here. So it's just $5 a month to join our premium club, or you can purchase an annual premium all access membership for $70 a year to join all of the other premium clubs on Fable, including LeVar Burton's book club. So visit fable.co, there's no M, Friends and Fiction, /Friends and Fiction, spelling out the word and, to sign up today.
Okay, can you guys hear me? I was having some microphone problems. You hear me now?
Oh, now you sound great.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I've just had a crazy night. My power went off. All right, I'm back. All right, how about even more interaction with us when you can actually hear me because I won't be having mic problems? Yes, you say? Well, this summer, you will have 2 more chances to meet the Friends and Fiction 4 in person at a ticketed evening event at Bethany Beach Books in Delaware on Wednesday, July 20th, and also at a fabulous luncheon on Thursday, July 21st at the Rehoboth Beach Country Club in Delaware, hosted by independent bookstore Browse About Books. You can find out more under the featured tab on our Facebook page or by visiting browseaboutbooks.com or BethanyBeachBooks.com. Both beach towns are just gorgeous, so it's a great excuse for a summer vacation too. We do want to remind you, though, make sure to buy your tickets in advance if you think you can come, because we expect both events to sell out. And we really, really, really want to get the chance to hang out with you, so we hope we will see you there.
I can't wait. It's so soon.
Yeah.
And don't forget, as you know, if you're a Friends of Fiction watcher, we continue to encourage you to support your indie booksellers when and where you can. And one way to do that is to visit our own Friends of Fiction bookshop.org page, where you can find Greer and Sarah's books, Alison and Brady's books, and Mary Alice and Angela's books, plus books by the four of us and our past guests, all at a discount. And this not only supports independent bookstores, but it also helps us keep Friends of Fiction up and running.
So before we get going with our amazing episode tonight about writing teams, Christy had this great idea last week of starting an Ask Us Anything segment. And you all have so many awesome questions for us. And sometimes we get so busy talking about business and our guests that we miss talking to each other and y'all and answering the things you would like to have us do. So leave your questions on the Facebook page and we might ask it in a future show. But tonight's question comes from Angie Chenery. I'm sure that's Chenery. And I think it's a perfect one because all of the four of us don't officially collaborate on books like our writing partners tonight. We're very much a team. So Angie asked and would love to know, you all talk about your writing sprints, but how much do you guys edit, read, or inspire each other's stories? Are you each other's beta readers? So real quick, Christy.
That's such a good question. So I think we all have different answers to this question too, which I think is really interesting. I have not had any of the ladies beta read for me yet. You're welcome. I have I think we all have really different processes. I am very much like, I write like kind of just a first draft and then it goes straight to my editor. Like before I've even really like cleaned it up much. So I think they've all written me blurbs like at very early times. And actually in the Wedding Veil, Patty was reading like a really early draft for a blurb and she called this like timeline issue that I was like, oh my gosh, stop the presses. And it's so funny because you think like, how many people have read this book and how many times have I read it? Like at least 50 and, never caught it. So, but I think more than that, like we're just such a good support system for each other. I mean, I know the ladies are a really good support system for me. And like, they're just in this job, there are not a lot of people that you can like kind of whine or vent about something like very specific and anyone really understands what you're saying. And I could say something like very specific and they know exactly what I mean. And that in and of itself is really great. And we ask each other a lot of questions, like little things like, what do you think about this? Or would you have a character do this or this? Or what do you think about this name or this title? Or so, they've all been very involved in the writing process. But so far I've saved them the torture of being beta readers.
No, it would not be torture. It would be a pleasure. Come on.
How about you, Kristen?
Yeah, it's funny. Writing is such a lonely profession, I think, by nature. It's something you do alone, which is something that I am so interested to dig in tonight with our guests because they all do it together, and we, in a way, do it together too. Yeah. And I will tell you, I think it's very interesting that even when we're not involved in the very beginning stages of each other's books, I mean, we talk about things, but we don't necessarily talk about specifics or character names or, minor plot points at the beginning. I think as we have grown closer as people, we have found overlap in the books that we're writing, but they overlap in places that we haven't talked about. So it's just like a mind meld that's happening or something. I don't know. So yes, we are doing some of that like actual purposeful collaborating in terms of asking each other questions. And, Patty, you were one of the first readers of my 2023 book, because you and I are writing in the,
and I love it so much. Let me say this.
I feel the same about yours. But there were several points of overlap even in our books, like not at all really the same, but enough points in common that like we were riding the same creative wave at the same time,
And I think, and the nodal points were like the bookshop or, things like that. But Angie, you're asking if we edit or read, and it's not as much about editing and reading, even though we have done some beta reading. And Mary Kay, remember, had us read her prologue to the Homewreckers this year because she'd never done a prologue before. So she had us read it and give input into that. But we definitely inspire help when we get stuck. So Angie, that is a fantastic question. So now let's welcome our first guests for the evening. Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen are the #1 New York Times best-selling co-authors of The Wife Between Us, An Anonymous Girl, You Are Not Alone, and The Golden Couple, which was just released earlier this year. Before becoming a novelist, Greer worked as vice president and senior editor at Simon & Schuster. Her writing has appeared, and all three of us right here are publishing with Simon & Schuster. Yep. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, Publishers Weekly, Allure, and several other publications. Sarah began her career as a journalist covering Capitol Hill. Her debut title, The Opposite of Me, sold to Greer. While Greer was at Atria, an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which also happens to be the imprint my next book comes out with. So Atria would go on to publish Sarah's subsequent novels, which were sold all around the world to international bestsellers. The pair have teamed up to write their best-selling novels, which have all been optioned for film and television. And if they weren't such wonderful people, I would hate them. So Sean, can you bring Sarah and Greer on, please?
Hi.
I am so happy to see y'all. I want you, we're going to dig into writing as a pair, especially since one of you bought the other's book. I just, as an author, I'm thinking, what editor have I ever worked with that I would write a book with? It's fascinating. But I want you to start by telling us about The Golden Couple, which is your latest. So I have an idea. Sarah, I want you to tell us what it is about. And then Greer, I want you to tell us what it is really about.
Ooh, that's not the way we normally do this.
I know. Welcome to Friends in Fiction.
I love it because we're mixing it up. All right. So The Golden Couple is the story of a maverick therapist. She is so outside the box that she has actually had her license revoked. And she has a method that really works for her. And basically, this is what it is. If you're a prospective client and you walk into her office, whatever problem you bring her, it can be a childhood trauma, it can be an infidelity in your marriage, whatever it is, she will evaluate you and quickly decide if she wants to take you on. Ooh. If she does, she will promise to fix you in 10 sessions. But here's the catch. You have to do whatever.
I mean, when I read her say that in the book, I was like, oh my God.
10 sessions, right? And you've got to do whatever she says during those 10 sessions. And so the Golden Couple begins with the golden couple strolling in. They appear to have everything. They're like that couple that we all know on social media where they look beautiful and they never have dog hair on their clothes and they're never, running looking. Nothing like me. I don't. They are that couple, right? They're very aspirational and they stroll in and immediately the wife confesses to an infidelity, blindsided the husband. And from there, it gets very twisty, turny, creepy, fun.
It's awesome.
That is
Claire,
awesome.
What is it really about?
Well, I mean, Sarah did an excellent job of our summary. Normally, because we do everything together, right? She normally tells the Avery part, and then I come in and talk about the Marissa part. So, I mean, I think that's the plot. But what it is a lot about what you do. What you see on the surface is not what it seems. With both, with all the characters involved, and I think that. I think what it makes the reader really question is like, we like getting them in on, would they sign up for like a 10 session method? You know, what you put yourself in that situation. When we've been promoting the book, we ask audiences all the time, you know, how many of you would sign up to see someone like Avery? I'm curious, ladies, how many of you would take that, you know, opportunity?
Oh, I would. I mean, when I read that, I was like, I'm in. Like,
you're in, right? With someone as capable as Avery, right? It might be good. You could, you know, you don't have to waste like 10 years in therapy. So
that's true. That's true. But see, I feel like I'm like the person that always picks like truth and truth or dare. And like, you have to do anything I say. It's very much like a big dare. So see, I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like I would be like, okay, let's do this.
I would totally do it too. And just adding on to what Greer said too, I think a lot of it is about appearances and what we project to the world and what is the truth. And I think with the, you know, the explosion of social media, like that's even more so. Everybody looks like they're having the time of their lives. Everybody's got the perfect kids, the perfect relationship. They're having the 5-star dinner. They're clinking glasses. And a lot of people are feeling more isolated than ever. This thing that's connecting us is making us lonely. It's making us feel inadequate. And so Avery, you know, our therapist, peels back the layers. And you see this couple that you think has everything. And you're going to get to know them as intimately as if you're reading their journals from their nightstands. You're listening in on their fights. So that was really fun for us to explore, is the current versus a reality.
I love that.
And what's I was just going to say, what was interesting about the book too is just that the title actually came from our editor at St. Martin's, and she said, "I thought of this amazing title. Nobody's used it before. Here, go. We think I think you can really do something great with it." And so, you know, as Sarah said, so we thought of this golden couple, and then who is going to get to know the golden couple? We couldn't just write a story about a golden couple. Who is the person? Is it a journalist? Is it, you know, a relative? Who is going to get to know them in that really deeply intimate way? And we love writing about therapists. You know, an Anonymous Girl also featured a therapist. And so it was like, okay, let's create a maverick therapist who can get to know them in this 10 session methodology.
Well, Greer, you actually answered the question that I was asking you. So we're having like a psychic moment here. So I love that idea of, you know, your editor like having this input on this story. And so I'm so interested, you know, with you being a former editor yourself, what thoughts do you have about this editor-author relationship and kind of that trust level that you have with your editor to be able to say, okay, like, yes, this is a good idea?
Well, you know, I as an editor for so many years, I got to know many editors in the industry. And so when it came time for Sarah and I to, you know, when our book went out, we had Sarah and I both had a list of editors that we had gotten to know over the years. And Jen was at the top of that list because I knew I'd been, you know, friends with her. I knew how smart she was, she's not just a great editor, but that she can come up with, you know, a title, marketing, publicity. She's like a triple threat of talent. And so I trusted her from the get-go. And I know a lot of people ask, what was it like to be edited? And I'm, you know, incredibly grateful to have an editor. She's, you know, she's a very additive editor. So she doesn't just say, this isn't working. She'll give us suggestions about what could work even better. In fact, the naming of the 10 sessions, she came up with those names. She's like, the 10 sessions should have names, and she rattled them off. It's like, you know, confession, disruption. You know, she's genius.
That's incredible. Well, Sarah, since Greer acquired you and edited you in your earlier career, do you think that that's helped your partnership, or like, do you know what she's thinking before she?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely helped because we established a strong friendship. We didn't just have the author-editor relationship. We also had our friendship. And I would go to New York and we would go out to a restaurant and talk for 3 hours, shut down the restaurant. We got kicked out of more than one restaurant. We would say, like, we're going to take off our professional hat. We're going to put on our friend's hat. And like, what's really going on, right? Like, let's dispense with all the theme of our book, the superficial, like what what are you struggling with? What are you happy about? What are you excited about? What are you in pain about? And we would talk about everything, kids, families, parents, dreams. And so that I think was really the basis of starting our writing partnership, because, when Greer came to me and said, I want to leave Simon & Schuster, I feel like I really want to write, and I'm not telling anybody. I'm telling my husband, I'm telling you, and maybe one or two other people, but that's it. That was kind of the launching pad for us to write together. And without our friendship, it wouldn't have happened.
That's so cool. I love that.
I love that. Which one of you was the one? Did one or the other of you say, I want to write together?
Sarah did. I said to her, Sarah said, I confessed to her because she said we had this deep friendship, and I really was not telling people I wanted to write because it's you guys all know it's scary, right? Could I do it? Would I be able to do it? And I said to Sarah, I'm thinking of writing, and I actually bounced an idea around to her, and she's like, why don't we write a book together? It wasn't that we didn't use the idea that I suggested, but she's very instinctive and intuitive. And I was like, she can write by herself. She's done all these amazing books alone. Why does she want to do this? She just said, I have an instinct that we can do something really great together. And I called her back 12 hours later. I was like, I'm in. As you said in my intro, I've edited hundreds of books. I've written a couple of articles, but I've never written a book. I had no idea. So I was like, this is going to be a masterclass in learning how to write.
Yeah.
It was really, I feel like we were both reaching out to the other. Like Greer called me, confided in the secret, and then said, if I get together some pages, would you read them? Can I bounce ideas off you? I'm like, totally, we'll switch roles in that way. And then I was like, well, let's cut out the middleman. Let's just write together. Let's do and do it. And it was, again, like Greer said, it was super instinctual. I occasionally have very gut-driven responses. I don't know if you guys are more analytical or more gut-driven, but when I have the gut that tells me this is it, I have to go for it. And it usually, almost always when it's that strong, it steers me right. And I'm like, we will have so much fun together. And we have.
That is awesome. And not just fun, but success. You've been so successful with these books, which is fantastic. All right. So you mentioned that at the very start of the book, Marissa, the wife, has been unfaithful to Matthew, her husband. And she feels so guilty about straying that she insists on confessing to her husband during their first therapy session. Sarah, was it difficult to make Marissa a sympathetic character given that betrayal?
No, because I think everybody in the world is complicated. And I think none of our characters are, completely, black, white, all shades of gray. Everybody has things that inform their actions, even if their actions aren't sympathetic. Once we understand them and what's driving that, we may not admire what they're doing. We may not have done it ourselves, but when there is understanding, then you connect with the characters. And so we really wanted you to get to know Marissa and what drove her to that moment.
Oh, I like that.
Well, knowing her backstory and what prodded her to do it is different than someone just throwing it on the table. Sure. Blowing up the room, so to speak. So Greer, I know that you have had a long time interest in psychology to the point that you said you'd be a therapist if you weren't a writer. I say that all the time. I always say that as writers, we are all pretend psychoanalysts, right? We're teasing apart the character motive and backstory. So could you talk about the process of creating Avery, the unconventional therapist?
Yeah, and just to echo what Sarah was saying too, just about all of our characters, we have to dig in and, in any of the villains, the reader always has to understand where they're coming from. So if you look at any of our characters, we feel a little bit of sympathy for all of them because something traumatic has happened to them. And I guess that is where, the background in psychology or the interest in psychology, because Sarah's also very interested in psychology. We both listen to psychology podcasts and subscribe to Psychology Today. Sarah was in a psychology experiment once. So we're both really...
I was in college,
So we're both really, curious about the human mind, and that is, for us, our books often start with, the characters and who they are. And even if something doesn't make it on the page, like, that they wake up and, weigh themselves every day and they eat 7 almonds and, whatever that is, those weird specifics, we know those, all of those details about our character. And what's interesting when you asked about Marissa being sympathetic, I've heard a lot of people who didn't find Avery sympathetic to begin with. And that's something we had to really layer in to give her more heart so that the reader understood where she was coming from. So for both of our characters, we had to really think about what happened to them in their past, what made them, what's driving them.
Did you interview therapists when you were?
Well, my mother was a therapist for many years, and Sarah's sister-in-law is also a therapist.
Wow.
So we both, so we spoke to both of them. But the great freedom with Avery is because she lost her license. It freed us up to make her not a traditional therapist. So
right,
that's genius, actually.
Yes.
I mean, because then you're not going to get those emails. Well, they wouldn't actually be able to do that.
Yes.
It's the old adage, you have to know the rules to break the rules, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's exactly.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, I feel like this whole segment has really been kind of a writing tip, but selfishly, we love getting writing tips from our friends who come on the show. So would you guys mind giving us a writing tip? Either one of you?
Sure. I mean,
Go ahead.
I have this theory that writing is a foreign language, and the translation of thought to paper is something that you have to learn by immersion. So I, rather than one specific tip, I could give like a million little tips that we probably all do, but I would say immerse yourself in this new country, in this language. When you're cooking, put on a podcast about writing, take master classes, read novels, deconstruct them, with index cards to take it down, like the architecture down to the studs, and see how the novelist put it together. Think about writing, like just do as much as you can when you're not actually writing so that the landscape becomes more comfortable for you.
Amazing. We've never had that tip before in 126 episodes. That's really
That's
really
a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like mine is like, well, mine is so basic and dumb, and you obviously, since you all have written so many books, have done this. But for me, it's just like getting your butt in the chair and sitting down to write. To do that every day, and like you can't edit a blank page. So just putting yourself in there and creating that kind of structure. Having a writing partner creates that accountability. But for people who don't have that, they have to figure something else out. So whether it's just, telling someone else that they're going to, write 1,000 words a day or whatever it is, but that would be that's my very basic for the novice writer. Sit down. You just have to do it.
Oh, it's not just basic, Greer. We have to tell ourselves that every day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's whenever we get lost, it's back to the basics, and the basics are butt and chair.
It's fundamental. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's so much fun talking to you. I have a lot of other questions that thank you.
We'll have to come back. Yes,
absolutely.
And I loved hearing that you guys are all writing the same elements. Like, you have your own books, but there are similar elements in it, because that happens all the time. I have so many questions for you guys. So.
And names too. Christy used a name and then didn't use it because Mary Kay used it, picked another one, and Mary Kay used that one. She's like, forget it.
I was like, I can't change it again. Like, this is so weird.
There's like something in the air where a lot of us get like a similar idea, theme, whatever it is, and it's crazy.
It's that Jungian, universal unconscious flow. And we're all tapping into that same river under the river. And we sometimes come up with some of the same things. So, but y'all are amazing. Thank you for coming and spending time.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you too.
We'll see you soon.
You soon.
Have a great night. Bye.
All right. Next up, weren't they great? I adore the two.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
No, I want to talk. I could ask them a million more questions, but another time.
Well, I know that honestly, I first met them. We had an event together in Indianapolis, and we get to go to this great dinner together. And they're just as warm and lovely in person as you would, as you saw them here tonight. I mean, they're just wonderful people. So, all right, and I'm so sorry, Kathy. Mary Kay had to miss it because I know she likes them quite a bit.
She loved
too. I know
them
she
in the
spent some
book.
time with them. Yeah, exactly. All right. So next up, we are thrilled to welcome Alison Hammer and Brady Godfrey, two writers who have teamed up to write under the combined pen name Allie Brady. Now, you all out there have met Alison before. She's the author of You and Me and Us and Little Pieces of Me. And I have actually known her, I believe, since our college days at the University of Florida. And I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was because it's longer than I would like to believe.
And shorter than mine. So we're good.
Your 5-year reunion is coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We're almost in our mid-20s. Yeah, right. She's one of the most supportive writers I know, and I am thrilled to see her launching this new branch of her career. So Alison lives in Chicago and works as a VP creative director at an advertising agency. Now, Alison first mentioned Brady to me years ago, and I know they've basically become writing BFFs since then. And I think they even call each other that on their websites, which I love because we're kind of writing BFFs too. And as we know at Friends in Fiction, writing BFFs are a wonderful thing to have. Yeah. So Brady is the author of the upcoming psychological thriller Imposter. She lives in Utah with her family, and in her spare time, she works as a physician. That was a joke about spare time. She clearly doesn't have any, but that's amazing. She works as a physician. So The Beach Trap is their first book together, and it is set to hit stores in just a few days on June 14th. Sean, can you bring Alison and Brady in?
Hi, you two.
I think it's been like 7 years since college, Kristen, not 5.
Oh, 7, right? Because we're just about to turn 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to age you guys too much, so.
My gosh, I wish it had been 7 years since college. Although we've grown
I was
as
going to
people.
say, I don't wish.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Okay. Alison and Brady, can you ladies, I think we're going to do the same thing we did with Greer and Sarah. Alison, can you tell us what The Beach Trap is about? And then Brady, we're going to ask you to tell us what The Beach Trap is really about. So Alison, you want to start?
I'm so happy you picked me to do the easier part of this. I messaged Brady. I'm like, if they ask this, you take the harder one because she's much smarter than I am. So The Beach Trap is a twist on The Parent Trap. Only in our book, instead of the sisters trying to bring the parents back together, it is the parent trying to bring the sisters back together. So the book opens with Kat and Blake, our sisters. They meet at camp and they become instant best friends, and find out toward the end of that summer that they have the same father. So they're half sisters. The discovery does not go well. It's slightly traumatic. And so they don't speak to each other for 15 years until their father passes away and leaves them this rundown beach house in Destin, Florida. And both girls have a very different relationship with their father and a very different relationship with the house. They're instantly at odds. Kat, grew up at the house and wants to keep it. Blake needs money to help support her grandfather, so she wants to sell it. So instantly they're at odds, and they spend the summer, repairing their house and their relationship. There's a cute dog, a cute kid, and both sisters have a love interest. So there's plenty of steam and swoon also.
Steam and swoon.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so great. All right, that was a fantastic description. Brady, can you tell us what The Beach Trap is really about at its core?
Yes. So the story is really about the sisters. It's the two sisters' relationship. They had this really instant connection when they were 12 years old, and we tried to capture that magic of summer camp and how you can become best friends with a girl that you hardly know within such a short time, and then to have it be totally ruptured when they find out they share a dad. And one of them is, the dirty little secret. And so they have to repair this, and they each have to confront very different wounds from their dad. They each knew him as a different person. They're each grieving him in different ways, and they have to come to terms with that. There's some blame on either side toward each other. And so as they're fixing up the house, of course, it's sort of symbolic of them fixing up this relationship and coming to terms with each other, learning how to be a family, and really confronting their wounds and learning how to move on together.
I told you she was smarter than me.
No, stop, you guys. That was excellent answers, both.
Alison. Donkerous. Okay, since we're really digging in tonight on author pairs, we'd love to ask you exactly, I'm dying to know this, how you met and how you decided to collaborate on a book. When we were just talking to Greer and Sarah, I'm thinking how nerve-wracking it would be to be the first one to say, like asking a girl out, do you want to write together? Because what if they say no, right? Like then your friendship is weird because you said no. Like, so Brady, do you mind telling us the story?
Sure. So we met online in a writing group, the Women's Fiction Writers Association. And I think it was we just sort of got to know each other. Everybody knows Alison. Alison is incredibly outgoing and gregarious and kind to every
and supportive
writer.
And
yes. Everybody knows Alison in every group that she's in. And so, really, I just was thought that she was sort of like a celebrity in this group. And then we were in it was like a writing workshop or something where we had to read each other's pages, And so we kind of read each other's stuff. I loved her writing. She loved my writing. I can't remember who reached out first, but one of us said, hey, do you want to swap pages? We were both querying, trying to find agents at the time. And so can we swap pages and critique? And we just loved critiquing and reading each other's work. And you know how important that is to be able to just jive in how you write and how you critique as well, because that's so important, right? And so we just kept doing it. We just kept swapping pages and we became critique partners essentially. So we formalized it and we were I'm your only one. You're my only one.
Don't show your pages to anyone else.
It was like going steady. It was like going steady.
We're exclusive.
We're exclusive. Yeah. So we kept doing that for a long time. And each of us have separate writing paths. And then it was the spring of 2020. When everybody was just locked down, right? We were all just home. I have kids. I was homeschooling and Alison was working from home. And we were sharing book ideas one day. We chat all day long. And we were just sharing book ideas and she had an idea and I had an idea. And we were like, these actually go together really well. And so we started writing this book and that book did not end up getting published, but it led us to writing The Beach Trap, which an editor loved the idea and said, please send me a proposal for this. And we did, and she bought it.
So in hearing Greer and Sarah talk was so interesting because Brady and I feel like we're intertwined in each other's writings similarly in a different way, not as editor and author, but there's a line in my second book, Little Pieces of Me, that reviewers always call out that they love that line. And Brady wrote it. So we're all because we both edit each other's work so much. So I think that it was a natural transition because we were so involved in each other's writing process. So going from critique partners to co-authors, it's really been really seamless.
So who's the first person who said, let's write a book together?
I don't remember.
It was you. I do. I remember. So I had an idea. And again, we talk all the time. And I said, I have this idea. Is it crazy? And Brady said, not only is it not crazy, it fits together with an idea I had. What if we do this together? And I was very flattered. I was like, you'd want to write a book with me?
Oh, that's so sweet.
I
always wonder that, there has to be a moment where somebody says, let's try this together.
Yeah.
Okay, Alison.
Although Patty, it's funny you say that because I think every time we talk about how Friends in Fiction got started, we don't have a clear idea of who said what or how it actually got off the ground. It felt like groupthink from the first moment because we fit so well together. And I think none of us, and I bet you it's the same with Alison and Brady. I don't think we think of ideas as, well, that was my idea, that was your idea. It was just, it was our idea and it worked. And how great, right?
Except what I'm extremely clear on is that we all wanted to write an anthology and one of us not present on the screen did not think that was a good idea.
That is true.
For those of you who don't know, Mary Kay is really big with just no.
Yeah, she shuts us down. Nope.
Nope.
Also, I know, speaking of Mary Kay, I know some of you out there missed the beginning of the show tonight because we had a little bit of Facebook trouble in the beginning. If that's the case and you're wondering where Mary Kay is, she has a minor case of COVID. So she's not with us tonight, but she's fine. She'll be back next week. Sorry. Go on.
We're sending her all good healing love. All right, Alison, I know you are the founder of Every Damn Day Writers. So great. A support group for women's writers. So you're no stranger to working with other authors. Can you talk to us a bit about exactly why you started Every Damn Day?
Yeah, Brady and I was in this group also. There was a group of us from Women's Fiction Writers Association who were all doing NaNoWriMo together, which is National Novel Writing Month, which is an international program where writers all around the world write 50,000 words in the month of November. And a group of us were doing it together. And I'm a nerd with all these just different like Facebook graphics. And I was doing a daily post. We created a little support group. And every day I would post and everyone would check in about their progress and how well they were doing, what their challenges were. And it was a really great support community. And on December 1st, when it was over, we were like, we don't want to stop. And so that group is still in existence. It's about 20 writers and we're all very, very close. And there was a point where we were like, let's make that broader. This is such a magical thing we've created. Let's invite others in. We wanted to keep our group separate because we've got this great, this really tight friendship. But we're up to, I think, over 750 women writers in Every Damn Day Writers. And we've got 7 different moderators. And every day we share a post to check in. On Wednesdays, we share lines of what we're working on. Mondays, we share goals. And it's really just, writing, like Kristen, you said, writing can be such a solitary sport, but it's not. There's such a community if you get out there. And so really, we just wanted to create a community.
So not you're just creating a community with the two of you, but you've taken it wider.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you actually co-write a book? What is your process for doing that? Do you divide the characters, the pages, the chapters? Talk to us about that.
So we plot extensively. You have to plot extensively when you write with someone else. So detail out.
That makes
our
sense.
Editor, we gave her like 100-page outline, right? It was ridiculous. She was like, "This is the longest proposal I've ever read," and got it. So, but and then we in the beach trap, there's 2 main characters. They each alternate chapters. So we each took the lead on writing one character. But then. So usually every week we write one chapter and then we swap it. The next week we critique each other's and edit each other. So there is, one of us drafting, the other one's editing, and we just keep going back and forth as we revise. And sometimes someone will say, "This doesn't sound like this character's voice to me," and they'll make a suggestion, and we just keep going and going and going. The goal is for it to just sound like it was written by one person.
We've said it a couple times. I like it being a little secret. There's nothing I love more than getting texts from people who know me that are like, "Did you write Cat? Wait, you wrote Blake. You wrote Cat." And some friends of mine have said that they've seen pieces of me in both characters. And Brady has friends who've seen the same, who've said the same, that they've seen pieces of her. And so it's really great because we edit each other so much and we edit the chapters. So it really is co-written in every sense of the word.
That's awesome.
So you're not going to tell us who's who?
We can tell if people want to know. I think it's fun to I love the mystery of it.
You can keep it a secret.
Some people guess.
Okay. We're good with that.
Well, Alison, like Kristen mentioned, we've had you on the show before to talk about your books, You and Me and Us and Little Pieces of Me, which are very emotional women's fiction stories about family and loss. Our friend Colleen Oakley describes Little Pieces of Me as a gorgeous, heartbreaking, yet hopeful story. And Brady, you have a debut novel coming out in September called Imposter, which is a psychological thriller that Mary Kubica describes as spine-chillingly, jaw-droppingly good.
No.
So for both of you, The Beach Trap is a departure. So can you talk about what made the two of you decide to write a book in a completely different genre? So maybe Brady, if you would take that part, what made you decide to write in a different genre? And then Alison, were there challenges in that shift for you guys?
Yeah, so I'm a huge reader. I love reading. And the 2 genres that I read the most of are probably women's fiction, especially romantic women's fiction, where there's a combination of sort of like family dynamics and love, that type of thing. And I like thrillers. So I get my thriller fix with what I'm writing on my own. But there really has been a part of me that I want to write about like sisters and their relationships with their mom and love stories and all of that. And so honestly, to me, it's like two sides of my brain, and I just really like it. It just sort of like scratches the itch on both sides, and so it's perfect.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And her thriller Imposter is so good. And there's also sisters in it. So like, I think that there are, I think at the core, there are similarities of the stories and of, like her writing that comes through. For me, I don't think it was as much of a departure for me because I do write, my kind of tagline for myself, my solo books is stories about family, friendship, loss, and love. And all those things are here. But with the Beach Trap, it's a little bit different. Also just because from writing with Brady, she brings her creativity to it. It's definitely more romantic. In my books, it's closed door. And Brady will deny this, but we were not going to do open door in this book. But she wrote the sex scene for her character first. And I was like, well, I can't.
You just gave it away. Okay. Oh, no, you didn't.
Open door. It's open door steam. And Brady is so good at the steam. She can make, I always say she can make like sitting on the couch watching TV, like super sexy. So since she did it, I had to go there. So I think that that's probably the biggest difference between Alison Hammer books and Alison and Allie Brady is the steam. We talk a lot about where it fits in genre wise, and it's not a romance, it's not women's fiction, but if you're a romance reader, there are 2 romances for the price of 1. So there's a little bit of everything in it.
That is awesome. All right, so ladies, a lot of our viewers are aspiring writers, and I know both of you have done so much to reach out to other writers, to lift them up, to build this community as we were talking about earlier. But you both, as we mentioned in the introduction, are also juggling full-time careers, and they're busy full-time. I mean, they're busy careers, right? Like they're busy careers that require your brain and require lots of time and all of that. Yet you have not only written these solo books, but you found time to collaborate on this book. Can you talk a little bit about how you each carve writing time out of such a busy life? Alison, do you want to start?
Well, I'm not at the moment. I mean, I think that it's really hard. And I was having some conversations. My debut, You and Me and Us, is a lot about that work-life balance. And so I was having a lot of conversations around that time with other people who work in advertising, other women who work in advertising and balance. I don't have kids. I tease, I don't have kids, pets, or plants. So writing is like that other thing in my life. But I think that like the idea of balance doesn't exist. I think that, someone pointed this out, that it's almost like a seesaw. Like sometimes like writing needs to be more and sometimes work needs to be more. Ooh. What the problem is, sometimes they both need to be more. Like right now I've had a really busy month at work, and then we're getting ready to turn in our second book. So when they're both really busy, but part of the great thing about having a partnership is Brady has been amazing this month and really picked up my slack when I have not been able to do some things. And so there's a level of wanting to be accountable for each other, but also helping each other because you have that same goal. So easier said than done. In general, when things are normal, I write in the evenings and the weekends, but balance is not always possible.
Well, hey, I hear you. I think we're all that way. Life is busy. How about you, Brady?
I think one of the things that Alison and I have in common, we have many things in common, but one is that we're pretty high intensity people, and we like to jam our lives full of things. I mean, really, I don't like having spare time to think about anything. I don't want to have any spare brain space. I want it all packed with family, my kids, work. And so I'm similar to Alison. I often will write in the evenings, like when it's bedtime for the kids. I just head up to my office and just write. For a long time, I worked part-time, and so then on the days I didn't work, I would write when my kids napped. Like a lot of moms. Right now I'm full-time. I might go back to part-time again in the future. I don't know. But I think it's really just the thing that's nice about writing is you can do a lot of preparatory stuff in your mind as you're like driving around. I mean, I do a lot of thinking, and you're taking a shower. I'll send Alison text and say, I had shower thoughts, and tell her. So you can do a lot of thinking. And then when you get ready to sit down and write, it can pour out, which is nice.
And we're awesome. Really close, but you don't text me in the shower. You text me after you get out of the shower. We're not
an important distinction, especially for your phone. Really.
Yeah. But we're getting ready to go out on a 2-week book tour, so you never know by the end of it.
I know, right? There you go.
I love you said we're not that close yet. Like that, yeah. Okay, quickly before you go, Alison, we have a question from a viewer saying, Lisa Morgan-Cass saying, if aspiring women writers to be can join every damn day.
Absolutely. It is open to any writer who identifies as a woman And I'll post the link to the group in the comments.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, ladies. It was so nice to have you with us tonight. It's a
Y'all are
fantastic
amazing.
book. We love that it comes from your own friendship, and we're just appreciative that you were here. So the Beach Trap, we hope everyone buys it next week.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
ladies.
much.
Bye, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, we know a lot of you have been waiting on the edge of your seat for these next two authors. Of course, Mary Alice Monroe was one of the 5 founding authors of Friends of Fiction back in 2020. And she has been busy writing both on her own and with her writing partner, Angela May. Mary Alice and Angela have been working together for more than a decade now. Angela began as Mary Alice's assistant, but now they write together, which is just an amazing thing to see. So last summer's The Islanders, a middle grade novel, was their first book together. And Mary Alice, of course, is the New York Times bestselling author of 27 books, including The Summer of Lost and Found, which was an instant New York Times bestseller in 2021. She's earned numerous accolades and awards, including induction into the South Carolina Academy of Authors Hall of Fame. And as you all know, Mary Alice is an active conservationist and is proud to be a 20-year plus state certified volunteer with the Island Turtle Team. Angela is a former award-winning television news journalist and the founder of May Media and PR. She and her husband live with their 2 children in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And Mary Alice and Angela's new novel for middle grade readers, Search for Treasure, which is a sequel to The Islanders, is set to be released on June 14th. So Sean, can you bring Mary Alice and Angela on?
Hi.
Hi.
So nice to be back. Hello, everybody.
We're so glad that you're here. This is such a treat to see
Thank you.
both. So, okay, ladies, I know you've been listening backstage, so you might be
Yes.
anticipating this question. But can you start out, Angela? Can you tell us what Search for Treasure is about? And Mary Alice, can you tell us what it's really about?
Okay. I'm glad this is the order.
Yeah, we knew.
So it starts off with, it's going to be the best summer ever, right? Jake is returning to the island where his grandmother lives off the coast of South Carolina. He's ready to reunite with his best friends. He's had a really tough year at home, adjusting to a new normal with his family after his father's injury. And as soon as he gets to the island and reunites with everyone, he sees the news that somebody, an older resident named Scary Harry, has discovered a gold coin, a gold doubloon. And he's like, I want to find treasure. There's buried treasure on the island. So Operation Treasure Hunt begins. And it is a summer of wild adventures.
A gold doubloon, just like in the bottom of the shipwreck.
Well, y'all are from the South. You know that every child in the Southeast who knows about Blackbeard's treasure, and they know it's there somewhere. So we all, every child's looking for that gold somewhere.
So Mary Alice, what's it really about?
I think it's all in the title, Search for Treasure. These kids, it's middle grade, and these are tough years for kids. You know, they what other people think about them is so important. And one of the things I love about middle grade is that you still have really tough issues. So you have the father-son relationship. You know, what's the new normal with a prosthetic, being embarrassed about that, you know, his dad. You have the relationship with a boy and his family. He's nudged out by the new baby, and a little girl nervous about her dad in prison. So you have all these, and of course the budding aging, they're 12 now. So Lovey likes the boy just a little bit. We're just nudging into that kind of relationship. So they have all these adventures, and there's a sense of other, but at the end, ultimately, it's finding that they really are the best friends, the treasurers themselves, and finding in their family what matters. Yeah. And I think that's so important at this age, what matters, because everything's so superficial. Everything, you know, I know my grandkids are on TikTok, and that's just a whole world that I don't understand, but it's all superficial. Yeah. So we're trying to bring them back to what's real.
That's awesome.
And Big Al. I think the story's really about Big Al. Alligator.
It's really an alligator. Yeah.
That is the number one question we get asked when we go and speak to students at schools, Mary Alice.
It's true. What is he real? And how big is Big Al? Well, he's 17 long. That's big.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, ladies, as Christy mentioned in the intro, and as we of course know, you two have worked together for years, right? I mean, and you were working together in other ways before you were writing together. So I'm wondering, first of all, whose idea was it initially to write together?
Mine.
Yeah?
I was
Tell us
asked.
about how that came about.
It was. I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to write for this age group, but we've got our novels every year. You know how that is, girls. So it wasn't until I was asked to write a lead series and would I do it? And I said instantly yes. But I knew it was a big job. It was new for me, and I'd never collaborated with an author before. And I had been working with Angela for 10 years. And, when you work with someone that long, and she does a lot of not writing of my novels, but has done writing. She's a journalist. She has that background. And I just wondered, we like the same things. We work well together. And I just said, Angela, do you ever think you'd be interested in writing a middle grade book? And then Angela
said, what? So that was one of the easiest yeses in my life. It came totally out of left field. I had, and I know I've said this to you before, Mary Alice, that I had always quietly wanted to be a writer. And I had been a writer, just using words in a different way, right? Through my career as a journalist and a media specialist. So when this opportunity came about, I was blown away. And she had spoken out loud the thing that I had only quietly said to my husband once before, like, if I could do anything in the world and money didn't matter, I'd write children's books. And the funny thing is I feel like, at least for me personally and my faith, that you might have your own ideas of what you think the good Lord wants you to do, but then he shows you something totally different. And I never thought middle grade. I thought picture books. And I love writing for middle grade with you, Mary Alice. It's so much fun.
What I love about this whole thing is that even though we're working together, the serendipity of, I didn't know if she wanted to do it, and it just happened. And when that happens, that's serendipity at its best.
Yeah, that's true.
And what if she would have gone,
well, I'd have been, I'd probably still writing draft one.
I know, right? All right. When Mary Alice, I know when you began writing Search for Treasure, part of it grew from your great love of Deweese Island and your island on Isle of Palms and the beach, and the belief that kids need. We talk about this a lot with our grandkids too. They need to be reunited with nature in this tech-filled world. Did you go into the process knowing this would be a series, or was that something that evolved as the process went on?
It was designed as a series. In fact, it's one of the reasons I chose the publisher I did is because it was never in my mind a one book. And so I knew that whole idea of what I did for adults, bringing nature in through stories, I wanted to do for kids because this is their world coming. This is, I have a lot to say, and so does Angela, to this new generation. And they're so great. This is a can-do. They believe they can change the world. I just love this age. When we started, though, it was with the idea that this was one book, an entity unto itself. We knew we were going to have a series, especially with the father's injury. He was sick. He lost his leg in The Islanders. In book 2, we knew we would deal with how a father and son worked that relationship out. But it wasn't in our mind when we wrote book 1. Right, Angela? We have to do one book at a time. So
you just kind of let the story grow from the story you already wrote. You didn't plan out this series. You said, now that this has happened, is that
not
more how it went?
Yeah.
A little bit, though. A little bit. It's go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, don't you think that as we took all of those scenes from book 1, and y'all probably experience this too, you stuff your storyline full and you realize, okay, things have to go on the cutting room floor, right? Yeah. And so you just say, oh, we're saving a little bit of that for the next book. So as you're working on book 1, it's almost like at least little parts are bubbling and sprouting for book 2 in your mind.
I love that.
And it was nice that book one lays the tracks for you, right?
Yeah.
And so now you just have to piece your train together to follow that right path. And so, I mean, it's not to say book two is totally easy, but it's nice to have parameters, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have your characters, you have your setting, you have your people. Angela, can you say anything about the next book? Because you're going to keep going, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about Search for Treasure and then the third one.
Yes.
That's what, okay.
Yes. So we are so excited to say that the story will continue into a book 3.
Oh, so great.
Yes. So the details that we can say right now, at least this is how I would summarize it. I'm curious to see how you would, Mary Alice. What's your elevator pitch? I would say an ordinary, quick little outing out on the water turns into a emergency situation that forces 3 friends to rely on their wits and their strength and each other to survive.
Love it.
And that's really nice about watching these kids grow up. They started at 11 and now they're 12, and they're going to be 12 in the next book too. And this is a big question you don't have. Like when I wrote the Beach House series, that was 20 years and Kara went from 40 to 60. And yet in middle grade, I don't know. We haven't decided yet. Are they going to be 12 years old forever? Or, lost in the woods, I don't know, 12 years old. Or do we let them grow up? And it's really cute because when you ask the kids in the audience, that age group says, oh, let them grow up because they want to stay with them. But then that gets into YA. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do, what we're going to do. It's a question to be answered in the future.
Well, young kids come up under them. I mean,
well, that's it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So true.
Okay, so before I ask this question, so Angela, obviously you've been co-writing with Mary Alice, and that has been extremely successful. You guys have written these amazing books, and they've been so successful. Are you considering branching out and writing on your own?
I would love to continue to stay in this world of writing. I feel like this is such a wonderful opportunity, and I've learned so much. So yes, I am also quietly working on something just my own to see what does that voice sound like, and to force myself, like y'all were saying earlier in the show, to show up every single day, butt in chair, and force that story out onto paper. So
and I think that's what's cool about Angela and my relationship. First of all, we bring to the story different points of view from age. I wrote the book for my grandchildren. She wrote the book for her children. So that point of view really made the book better. But I'm also an adult novelist, and I'm working on my adult novels. And I am so thrilled and excited to see Angela move forward on her own. This is sort of a hope for her that I'd love to see. It's a mentoring process at this point in my career as well.
Yeah. So, Mary Alice, I'm going to toss this question to you too in just a second. But Angela, what have you learned from this co-writing experience that you think you can, bring forward into your solo writing?
I have learned book 1 was slow. We were feeling our way through all of this. And we were also writing in a way that she was working on her adult fiction. I was doing my PR work still. And so it was squeezing it in. Book 2, we had to write fast. And I think that this experience has taught me to just push hard and push fast. So, and I like that. So that's what I have learned. And she's also taught me so much about the art of storytelling. When you're just a reader, you see books as like, oh, that was so wonderful and memorable, and you don't want to leave that story world. And sometimes you kind of don't understand why you loved X book, right, over something else. But I've learned some of those elements. Mary Alice is not only a great co-author and a great friend, but a really good teacher and patient. How many times did you say when we were working on book 1, quit writing like a journalist? I'd say, use not your senses, my dear.
It's really true. There is a difference. And it was interesting to hear the different earlier writers that one writer, I think was it Brady, who said that they did extensive outlining.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing we did learn that's different for me. I outline anyway, but when I work with Angela, because it's two authors coming together, the outline is critical. So we spend so much time brainstorming to get everything in the whole story, and then chapter 1, chapter 2, in a much more linear form than I would for writing for myself in a novel, because I'm writing with another person and we send it back and forth. So I think listening to Brady say that too makes me realize it probably is not unusual for co-authors to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Well, guys, oh my goodness, I have had so much fun. We've all had so much fun having you on the show and getting to see you. We're so excited about this book. I know we all just got our coffees and we were so thrilled. And I'm gonna start reading. I'm gonna start reading My With Little Will tonight. So I was
gonna say that's it, Christy. Yeah. That's my hope is that people read it with their child or grandchild.
Yeah. Well, I love stories like this because it's hard to find things that he's interested in, but that I'm also interested in. And he's obviously old enough that he's 10. So he's reading on his own. He can read anything he wants to, but it's still nice to have that little time where we can sit down and read something together. But something that we both enjoy is like really hard to find. So, so thank y'all for providing that. That's a wonderful.
I'm
glad. And so ladies, Mary Alice, we were going to see if you would maybe stick around for old time's sake, just for one final question. And Angela, we just want to say congratulations. We're so excited. And we will be cheering for you guys next week.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been so much fun seeing all of you. And thanks for having
me. And I know both of you are on the road, some together and some separately. So we can find those on your websites, right?
Oh, thanks, Patty. Yes.
Right.
We're dividing and conquering. I'm on mine and I started in Angela. So it's going to be kind of fun. We do some together.
Yeah.
And the aquarium launch is always the most fun. But
awesome.
Yeah. So we'll be together next week at the beginning of the week. And then she goes north, I go south.
You're coming down here.
It's going to be fun. Yes. I'm going to be in Bluffton, Beaufort area.
I'll get to see her. Yeah. In Bluffton.
Awesome, guys.
I know.
That's like one of the great things I hadn't thought about co-authoring is you can divide and conquer on a tour.
That's awesome.
We're missing out on a
that's a question to ask the other authors. Do they go separately or do they always stay together?
Yeah.
It looks like they always stay together on tour. Well, Alison and Brady, of course, are writing as one person. So I can't imagine they would split. But I wonder about Sarah and
not sure.
I don't know either.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done it, so we'll let you know how it works.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It makes sense.
And Kristen, I'm going to be in Florida, but I'm not getting all the way down to where you're located. So
I'll look at your tour schedule. Oh, it's a few hours, but maybe. All right, I'll take a look. All right.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Angela.
Angela, you're such a treasure.
You are. Thank you.
You are. Okay, before we get to our final question for Mary Alice, just a quick reminder of our Writer's Block podcasts. We know we usually let Mary Kay do this part because she likes to talk about dropping, but I'm going to do it tonight. So we always post links under announcements each time a new one drops. A new episode drops each Friday. On the last episode that came out a few days ago, Ron and Meg joined our podcast to talk to Carter Bays. He is the developer and writer of that huge TV show, How I Met Your Mother. And he has a new novel called The Mutual Friend. Y'all, it is such a fun listen. Then coming out on Friday in a couple days, Ron and I talked to Liz Mikowski about her new dark reimagining of Peter Pan in her book, Darling Girl. Y'all, this conversation was so crazy fascinating because we took a really deep dive into the backstory of Peter Pan's author, J.M. Barrie, and how it all started.
Oh, I cannot wait to listen to that one. I know that's up Mary Alice's alley too.
Yeah.
My heart did a little flutter on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mary Alice, she had and I bet you already know it, but all these interesting, the backstory of the author. And Peter Pan was originally a minor character in a different story.
That's
That
great.
he
That
wrote.
I didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, I can't wait to
Wow.
listen into that.
Anyway, sorry.
All
Not
right.
to get on a
Me too.
tangent.
No,
Okay.
it sounds so great. And Ron is doing such a good job with the podcast. So I'm so excited. It just keeps getting better and better. All right.
Yep.
So we know many of you out there have been participating in our very first Friends and Fiction Reading Challenge. So this month for June, we are encouraging you to read a book from the book clubs, such as Reese Witherspoon's book club, Jenna Bush Hager's book club, the Good Morning America book club, whatever. Which of course, and of course, our friend Anissa Joy Armstrong, who's very active with this challenge, is also very active with Jenna Bush Hager's book club. So that's a kind of great tie-in with her. So if you are looking for a way to keep track of those books and your other reading, we would love to recommend, as always, our beautiful reading journal at Oxford Exchange, which also includes quotes from Mary Alice. So it's like a little throwback to the founding of Friends and Fiction. So make sure to tell us all about what you're reading. We love seeing your posts on the page.
The Friends and Fiction official book club is having a blast. And if you're not there, then you are missing out. The group, which is separate from us and run by our friends Lisa Harrison and Brenda Gardner, is now more than 12,000 strong. So join them on June 20th when they will be discussing Mary Kay Andrews' new novel, The Homewreckers.
And make
12,000. Wow.
Yeah.
I know.
They are doing
Fabulous.
such an amazing job. It's incredible. Oh my gosh. We're so happy for them and so grateful for them. So everyone out there, make sure to join us for our next episode of Friends and Fiction next Wednesday, right here at 7:00 Eastern, where we will welcome Emily Giffen and Harlan Coben with Kate Quinn on the after show. If you're ever wondering about our schedule, it's always on the Friends and Fiction website and on the header graphic on our Facebook page.
And I think we're going to do the cover reveal for Summer of Songbirds too.
Oh, are we really?
Fun.
I'm so excited.
I think we talked about that. So I hope that's
Yes,
okay
we
with you
did. I
guys.
just
Yes,
love it.
of course.
Everyone loves cover reveals, so that's
Yeah.
Cover reveals are the best
Such a
night.
good
Yes.
one. It's a good cover. I can't wait for everybody to see it. That's going to be a really epic show.
Yep.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
right?
it really is.
It is.
Lots going
It is.
on. Like tonight,
Yeah.
just star packed.
Star-studded.
Before we get to the last question, Mary Alice, somebody just sent in a comment, and I love this. I have two to read, actually. Carolyn Clement McDonough says, I'm doing the Islanders as a read aloud with my 4th grade English learners, and they are loving it. Like you, I am planning on getting The Search for Treasure soon.
Thank you. And there's so many teachers who are doing that. We get packets of letters, ladies, from all the kids who have written to us from the classrooms. I mean,
So satisfying.
so tender. It really is. So I'm
And
so
Sarah Grady sent Meg a letter today that says, I plan on writing in on the show tonight, but I wanted to share a positive story regarding Mary Alice Monroe's middle grade book, The Islanders. She said, I wrote a grant to get one book for each of my 100 6th grade students this year. And I had to fight like HE double hockey sticks, such a nerd, to get my school district administrator and department chair to allow me to read literature. Out of 100 students, most of which were reluctant readers and are reading on at least the 1st to 2nd grade level, became hooked on reading literature after reading this book, Mary Alice. It inspired a room full of students to read this summer. They laughed, they cried, and we had a fantastic book club discussion at the close of each chapter. So many life lessons. Thank you for all you do, Mary Alice.
Oh, thank you for reading that. That was so powerful. I mean, I just am overwhelmed. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now a question. Now you know this
I'm like
question.
blown away. I'll try and answer.
Okay, well, you know this question because you've asked it of our guests before, and it's the one we like to ask every week, and they notice when we skip it, and I don't think we've ever asked you. What were the values around reading and writing when you were growing up? Because I think I remember a really great story about a journal your mom found that got you.
Oh, no. Patty, you don't tell that story.
I think it's a great one.
Oh my God. Well, that's why I don't journal a lot. Actually, okay, I have two things. One is I come from 10 kids and my mom and dad. And so it wasn't so much that my mother and dad, they were very much in the arts, but we kids, you know, there was no TV, internet. There wasn't a lot of TV back then, internet, nothing. So we read a lot, but we also created our own shows. We made musicals, and some of my sisters are artists, so they would paint. Some more musicians, they play music. I would usually write the plays, and we put on these extravaganzas. So storytelling was always a really big part of our lives. As far as journaling, I also had very strict parents, which is why we did all this stuff inside our homes and we didn't get out much. So there was a year when all the kids were going out and sneaking out, crawling out the windows at around 10 o'clock and meeting at the gas station. And so it was the 8th grade summer. So I told my girlfriend from across the street, and I put a string on my finger. I held it. I literally slept with my hand out, hanging out the window. And she never came. I was so disappointed. I made up a story in my diary of what I did and who I saw, and God only knows what I said, but my mother read it in my diary. And she called me out on it. And I'm like, Mama, I made it up. It's all story. I guess I was a good writer because she didn't believe me. She called up the parents of all the kids I named in the diary.
How do I not know this story?
I had to
awesome.
I was oh my gosh, I was just odd man out, crucified. I was, middle school girls can get really mean. And I was, they all got in trouble. So I never wrote in a diary again in my life.
I guess not.
My goodness.
But I was a good writer when I was 13. My mother absolutely believed it was true.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
What a great
story to end on. Thank you for that. That's
But do write journals. I do encourage journaling.
Just don't make stuff up.
Maybe say like, Mom, if you're reading this, it's not true.
That's awesome.
Story. It's hilarious.
Oh, it's so much fun to laugh with you all again.
I know.
Well, thank you, Mary Alice, for coming back tonight to chat with us. We are so excited about your new release and just proud of you for this new, journey that you're on and trying something new and different that's been so successful. So thank you for being here.
Well, y'all were with me. Y'all were with me when we found out the book came out in #2, and I never expected the book to be this successful.
That was unbelievable.
That was
we got
fun
the
night.
good
I'm glad
champagne.
you were with me.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we had some good champagne with Flat Kristen.
I know.
Kristen, was that your champagne?
No, I wasn't there. I had a baby, but I wasn't there.
No, we were all at that event. And I went up to the bar and I was like, I need your best bottle of champagne.
Did you? Is that what happened? I just remember popping champagne. I was so stunned. That was
you were.
No, good for you.
You really were. You were so stunned. It was really exciting. It was a fun
It
moment.
was
Really
exciting.
Well, it was so fun tonight to chat with these 3 incredible writing teams. And don't forget, you guys, you can find our back episodes on YouTube or rewatch this one. We're live there every week, just like we are on Facebook. And if you subscribe, you won't miss a thing. So be sure to come back next week, same time, same place, as we welcome Emily Giffen and Harlan Coben and Kate Quinn and the cover for the Summer of Songbirds. And
what a great show.
What a night it's going to be. Yes. Thanks again, Mary Alice. And good night, everybody.
Good night,
everyone.
Y'all.
Thank you for tuning in. You can join us every week on Facebook or YouTube, where our live show airs on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram. We're so glad you're here.